58 years I have walked this earth. 22 of those years I spent carrying a badge. And in all that time, all the interrogation rooms, all the crime scenes, all the moments that would leave most people unable to sleep with the lights off, nothing changed me the way a single evening at a steakhouse did. It was a birthday dinner I had paid for. And before the entrees ever arrived, a man I had never trusted reached across the table and grabbed my daughter by the hair. His mother watched and smiled. "My name is Henry Ashford, retired detective, Homicide Division, Atlanta Police Department. 22 years of service. I have stood in rooms where things happened that I will carry to my grave. I have looked across interview tables at men who had done things I cannot describe here, and I held steady. Not once did I flinch, because the job required it. So you have to understand what it cost me to sit still in that restaurant booth. It cost everything. My daughter, Claire, is 31 years old. Her eyes, dark brown, like her mother's, go bright when she laughs and dim fast when she is hurting. She has my stubbornness, which is either a gift or a curse, depending on the day. For years ago, she married Derek Holt at a venue in Roswell that cost more than my first 2 cars combined. I walked her down the aisle. I gave a toast. I meant every word of both. Derek Holt is 34. He runs a logistics team at a mid-sized distribution company called Atlas Freight Solutions, out of their office in Marietta. He drives a truck that is bigger than anything he has ever hauled. His handshake is designed to impress, and his eyes do not quite line up with what his mouth is saying. First time I met him, I thought, this man rehearses his smile. I did not say that to Claire. I was trying to be fair. His mother is Victoria Holt, 63 years old. She runs a licensed home daycare in Smyrna, calls it Little Sprouts Academy, with about 18 kids ages 2 to 5. She is loud in a way that some people mistake for warmth, and she states opinions with the confidence of someone who believes certainty is the same thing as wisdom. She has been aggressively threading herself into Derek and Claire's marriage since approximately the 2nd week after their honeymoon. The 4 of us met at the Ember Grill on Johnson Ferry Road on a Saturday evening in early October. 7:30. I had made the reservation. I had ordered the appetizers. By the time the argument started, I was 2 glasses into a decent Cabernet. It began the way their arguments always did, with a kind of silence that was too quiet. The silence between 2 people who have been to this place before and both know where it ends. Derek had made a comment about Claire's visit to my house the week before, when she had come to help me sort through Eleanor's things. Eleanor, my wife, had been gone 2 years. Claire helped whenever she could. Derek had a problem with that. Their voices stayed low. I watched them the way 22 years of detective work trains you to watch people, looking for the things they do not say out loud. I saw Claire's shoulders draw inward. I saw the muscle in Derek's jaw go tight. I saw Victoria watching, with an expression I can only describe as interested. And then Derek reached across that table. Not for her hand, not for the breadbasket. He grabbed a fistful of Claire's hair at the back of her head and yanked hard enough that her head snapped back. Hard enough that she made a sound. Hard enough that 3 people at the next table turned to look. Claire's eyes filled with tears immediately. She did not cry out. She just went still, the way an animal goes still when it is caught in something. And Victoria Holt leaned back in her chair, crossed her arms, and looked at her son with unmistakable approval. "That is exactly right," she said. "She needs to learn her place." In that restaurant, with 45 people around us and at least 15 in direct line of sight, I did not move. I did not raise my voice. I did not touch Derek Holt. But what I did next set in motion a sequence of events that would cost him his job, his marriage, and every illusion of control he thought he had. And it cost Victoria something she had spent 30 years building. I have to be honest with you. I was not calm. My hands were on the table, and the only reason they were still was because keeping them still took everything I had. But here is the thing 22 years of homicide work teaches you. The loudest reaction is almost never the most effective one. The person who loses control in the critical moment hands their advantage to their opponent. I had watched this happen in interview rooms more times than I could count. The guilty party who stays composed often walks. The innocent party who explodes sometimes does not. Derek Holt was not getting my fury. He was getting my patience. And my patience was going to be far more damaging. My hand moved, not toward Derek, toward my jacket pocket. I took out my phone, opened the camera, and started recording. Derek was still focused on Claire. Victoria was still smiling. Neither of them noticed the phone resting on the table, screen angled toward them, looking no more significant than a glass of water. I let it run for 40 seconds. Derek's face, Claire's tears, Victoria's expression, all of it in the warm light of the Ember Grill on Johnson Ferry Road. Then I placed the phone face down, folded my napkin beside my plate, and said, quietly, "Check, please." Derek blinked. "We have not even gotten our food yet." "Check, please." Our server, she had definitely seen what happened, appeared in under 30 seconds. I paid the entire bill, including Derek's ribeye that never came. Then I stood up and said to Claire directly, "Get your coat, sweetheart." Claire looked at Derek, then at Victoria, then at me. Something in my face, something she had been reading since she was 9 years old, told her to move. Derek started, "You cannot just." "Derek." I turned and looked at him for the first and only time since this had started. 22 years of interview rooms in my eyes. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I walked my daughter out of that restaurant and into the parking lot, into my car. She was shaking. I was not. We sat in that parking lot for 11 minutes. I know because I watched the dashboard clock the way I used to watch clocks during long surveillance jobs, not with impatience, but with awareness. Claire did not speak for the first 4 minutes. "Then, Dad, please do not do anything. I already did something." She looked at me. "What did you do?" I recorded it. Silence. "Dad." "Claire." My voice was even. "Has he done that before?" She turned toward the window. Outside, couples were coming and going. A family leaving. A valet pretending not to notice us. Not in public. Not in public. She had already learned to distinguish between what was acceptable to do in front of strangers and what happened at home. That sentence told me everything about how long this had been going on. "How long?" I said. She was quiet. "Claire, about 1.5 years." Still looking out the window. "It is not always physical. Mostly he gets angry, he says things. The hair thing, that has happened maybe 4 or 5 times. 4 or 5 times my daughter had been grabbed by her hair, and she had told me nothing. Because she knew me. She knew what I would do. And what she was doing in her silence was trying to protect him or protect me or preserve whatever was left of a marriage she still believed could be something different. I did not say any of that out loud. I put my hand over hers. "Here is what happens next," I said. "You're staying with me tonight. Tomorrow I'll make some calls. You do not have to do anything yet. Just let me work." "Dad, I do not want this to become." "Claire." I looked at her. "He grabbed your hair in front of 40 people. His mother told you to learn your place. It has already become it." She gave me a small, tired nod. The nod of someone who has been carrying something for 18 months and has only just allowed themselves to feel how heavy it was. We drove to my house in East Cobb. I made her tea. She fell asleep on the couch under Eleanor's old throw blanket. I sat at the kitchen table, watched the video 4 times, and made 2 phone calls. The first was to Frank Morrison. Frank had been my partner for 11 of my 22 years. He retired a couple of years before I did, and now runs a security consulting firm. He picked up on the second ring because Frank Morrison has never in his life let a call go to voicemail. "Henry, it is 11 o'clock. I know. What happened?" I told him. A pause. How clear is the video? Very. Her reaction is on camera? Yes. Another pause. Longer. Have you filed a report yet? Tomorrow. Called you first. Good. His voice shifted. I knew that shift. I had made the same one myself hundreds of times, from friend to professional, in a single beat. Who is your attorney? Family law. Jonathan Pierce in Buckhead. He needs to know before Derek gets to anyone. Already thought of it. Henry. A moment. You did not hit him. Did not need to. I could hear him nod through the phone. Good. Keep it that way. The second call was to Jonathan Pierce's emergency line. Jonathan is a family law attorney I have known for over a decade. We crossed paths on a domestic case years ago. His client needed protection. My evidence helped get it. He is precise, thorough, and almost impossible to surprise. Jonathan, Henry Ashford, I need to see you first thing tomorrow. I have video of my daughter's husband assaulting her. Multiple witnesses, public setting. The mother-in-law is on camera, encouraging it. A pause. Which restaurant? The Ember Grill on Johnson Ferry. Do they have security cameras? They do. Silence. 8 o'clock, Henry. My office. I went back to the kitchen table. I could hear Claire breathing from the living room, asleep under Eleanor's blanket. I did not know yet what that video was going to do. I did not know that Derek Holt, sitting in that steakhouse booth with all his confidence still intact, was 72 hours away from the worst professional week of his life. I made a list, and then I made coffee, because a detective does not win by being the loudest voice in the room. A detective wins by building a case, fact by fact, document by document, until the structure of it is so solid that the other side has nowhere left to stand. Derek had assumed that by Monday he would be back at his desk at Atlas, giving his team its morning briefing. He was wrong about that. He had assumed Victoria would call Claire on Tuesday, smooth everything over with her usual blend of pressure and guilt. He was wrong about that too. He had assumed that what happened at the Ember Grill on a Saturday evening was a domestic argument that got a little out of hand, something that would quietly reset by the following week. He was about to learn the difference between an argument and evidence. Sunday morning, 8 o'clock, I was in Jonathan Pierce's office in Buckhead. He had already verified the Ember Grill's security camera system online and confirmed that Georgia operates under single-party consent for recordings, meaning my video was fully admissible. I put my phone on his desk and hit play. He watched it twice. First time, passive. Second time, he paused at the moment Victoria Holt leaned back in her chair and started talking. He took off his reading glasses. Henry, this is an extraordinary piece of evidence. I know, the mother on camera, on video, actively endorsing the assault. I have been practicing family law for 20 years, and I have never seen documentation like this. Neither have I. He leaned back. Emergency protective order for Claire. I can file today through the duty judge, Sunday filing. Criminal assault referral to Cobb County, since the restaurant is in their jurisdiction. You will need to file that report yourself. He paused. What does Derek do for work? Atlas FICTIONAL. Manages a logistics team. Employment contract? Not sure of the exact language, but most mid-sized logistics firms have conduct clauses. Domestic violence offenses, reputational harm. I have a contact in HR consulting who can advise on how to approach it properly. Jonathan was already writing. And his mother? Licensed home daycare in Smyrna. Approximately 18 children. He looked up slowly. She's a licensed child care provider. Yes. And she is on video endorsing a man physically assaulting a woman, telling that woman she needs to learn her place in a public restaurant. He set down his pen. Henry, do you understand what this video means for the Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning? I had a strong feeling. I wanted to hear him say it. Tell me, a licensed home daycare operator appearing on video to condone domestic violence requires an immediate fitness review. They will examine her full licensing history. 18 children in her care. Henry. The parents of those children will be formally notified. The room was quiet for a moment. Build the whole thing, I told him. All of it. He picked up his pen. How is Claire? Scared, but steadier than she thinks. Does she want to pursue any of this? She wants to save the marriage. Jonathan nodded. That is common. He looked at me. What is also common, Henry, is that 18 months of documented incidents, which I intend to help you compile this week, combined with this video and a protective order, will give her options she currently does not believe she has. I'm not forcing her hand. I am building her an exit in case she ever wants to use it. He gave me a single nod, the nod of a man who was all in. Sunday afternoon, I drove to Cobb County and filed the assault report. The officer who took my statement, a young man named Officer Michael Torres, reviewed the footage twice with the careful attention of someone who takes his job seriously. You were a detective, Mr. Ashford? Homicide. 2 decades. This evidence is exceptionally strong. Public setting, multiple potential witnesses, 2 separate cameras. He finished the last section of the report with deliberate thoroughness. We will be in contact with the Ember Grill by Tuesday. Do you want to formally request a warrant? I want the full legal process. Let run. Monday morning, I sat with Claire for 2 hours. I made eggs, toast, the orange juice she has liked since she was 7. I did not ask questions like an interrogation. I just let her talk. She talked about how it had started slowly, how each thing seemed small enough on its own that she kept recalibrating what was normal. She showed me her phone, 14 months of text messages she had never deleted. Messages from Derek after incidents. Apologies that were really control. Affection that was surveillance. I love you, but you made me do this. I photographed every screen. Why did you not tell me? I asked. She stared at her coffee cup. Because I knew what you would do. What did you think I would do? Go after him. I waited until she looked at me. Look what I did instead. A pause. Then something moved across her face. Not quite a smile, but adjacent to one. You took out your phone. I took out my phone. And now we are building a case. She thought about that. Will it work? I poured her more orange juice. It already has. Wednesday, October 8th. For days after the Ember Grill, 3 things happened in one day. And by the time the sun set, Derek Holt's entire constructed life had begun to come apart at the seams, and he still did not fully understand why. First, Jonathan called at 9 in the morning. The emergency protective order had been granted by the Cobb County duty judge. Derek was now legally prohibited from contacting or approaching Claire. He had been served at his Marietta office at 8:45 by a process server. Jonathan said Derek's reaction, according to the server, was like watching the light go out of someone's face. Second, Officer Torres called at 10:30. Cobb County PD had reviewed the security footage from the Ember Grill. The restaurant camera confirmed everything. Same incident, different angle. An arrest warrant had been issued for Derek Holt on misdemeanor battery charges. He surrendered through his attorney by noon, was processed, posted bail, and was out by 2. The charge was now permanently on his record. Third, at 3:15 in the afternoon, my phone rang from an unfamiliar number. I let it go to voicemail. It was a licensing investigator from the Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning. They had received a complaint referral pertaining to Victoria Holt and Little Sprouts Academy in Smyrna. A fitness review had been initiated. I sat at my kitchen table and listened to that voicemail twice. I did not call back right away. I just sat there, coffee in hand, thinking about Victoria Holt in that restaurant booth. Arms crossed. Satisfied expression. That is exactly right. She needs to learn her place. 18 families in Smyrna were about to receive formal notification. The most satisfying moment in any investigation, and I had had several hundred of them, is not the arrest. It is not even the conviction. It is the moment when the other side realizes the game ended several moves ago and they were the last to know. Derek Holt had that moment on a Thursday morning in October. 4 days after he sat in a steakhouse booth certain of his own invincibility, he was placed on administrative leave from Atlas Freight Solutions pending an internal HR review. Escorted from the building at 9 in the morning. I know this because Jonathan's HR contact had reached out to Atlas's legal department the preceding Tuesday. Not as a threat, not a demand, simply as a professional heads up. An employee had been arrested for assault, documented video evidence existed, and Atlas might want to know before it became public. Atlas's conduct policy, as Jonathan had anticipated, contained exactly the clause needed. Derek called Victoria from the parking lot. I know this because Claire was accidentally included on an email thread Derek sent to her old account. When he had forgotten, she still checked. In that email, Derek had forwarded correspondence from his attorney detailing everything that had happened in the last 4 days. People under real pressure make small, consequential mistakes. Claire drove herself to my house Thursday afternoon. This was new. 3 days earlier, she had been shaking in a restaurant parking lot. Now she came through the door with a printed email in her hand and an expression I recognized. The face of someone who has just gotten confirmation of everything they suspected and is now reckoning with what it means to have been right. He has been put on leave, she said. I know. He is furious. His lawyer says we orchestrated a coordinated effort. She looked up at me. Is that even legal? What you did with his job and Victoria's daycare. I reported a criminal act. I provided evidence to the appropriate authorities. I hired a family law attorney to protect my daughter's legal rights. I met her eyes. Every one of those things is exactly what you were supposed to do. She was quiet. Victoria called me. What did she say? She said I needed to get my father under control. Claire paused. Then, with a disbelieving almost laugh, she said I was lucky Derek loves me as much as he does. The room went still. What did you say to her? I hung up. She looked at me with an expression I can only describe as newly arrived. Someone who has been going the wrong direction for a long time and has only just looked up and seen it. And then I drove here. The next 2 weeks moved the way good investigative work moves. Not dramatically, but with steady, sequential progress. Each thing connecting to the next. Jonathan filed for divorce on Claire's behalf on a Monday. Grounds: irreconcilable differences, documented pattern of domestic violence, emergency protective order already in effect. Derek's attorney filed a response within 4 days. The language was aggressive and theatrical, the legal equivalent of a man posturing because he has nothing solid left to stand on. Jonathan was not posturing. Jonathan had the video, the police report, the arrest record, 14 months of documented incidents, dates, descriptions, photographs of 2 bruises Claire had taken on her phone and shown no one until now. All of it compiled chronologically across 3 mornings at my kitchen table. Derek's attorney went silent after Jonathan submitted the full documentation package. I have heard that silence before. It is the sound of a legal strategy being completely reconsidered. Victoria's situation moved on its own schedule. The Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning's fitness evaluation was thorough. They interviewed Victoria. They reviewed the video evidence submitted with the initial complaint. They interviewed staff. They also contacted the Amber Grill, confirmed the incident had been witnessed by restaurant employees, and verified it was captured on the security system. On October 22nd, 18 days after that birthday dinner, formal letters went out to all 18 families enrolled at Little Sprouts. The letters informed them that the facility was undergoing a licensing fitness review and that parents could request further information. I learned about these letters because one parent posted about them in a local Smyrna neighborhood Facebook group. By the following morning, 11 of the 18 families had withdrawn their children, pinning the outcome of the review. Little Sprouts Academy, by the end of that week, had 7 children enrolled. Victoria called Claire 3 more times. Claire did not answer. On the 3rd call, Victoria left a voicemail. Claire played it for me once, then deleted it. The message was long. It contained the phrase, "your father," approximately 11 times. It did not contain the words, "I am sorry." Monday, October 27th, 23 days after the Amber Grill. Derek Holt's attorney called Jonathan at 9 in the morning, and Derek Holt signed. The terms were uncontested. Divorce granted, marital assets divided equitably under Georgia law, permanent restraining order replacing the emergency one. No custody dispute. They had no children. Derek took his share of the joint accounts and the furniture he had contributed. Claire kept everything else, including the condominium she had built into a home, and her freedom, which was worth more than any of the rest of it. Derek did not contest a single point. Derek's attorney, after reviewing Jonathan's complete documentation, the video, the report, the arrest record, 14 months of incidents, had apparently advised his client in unambiguous terms. Contesting this divorce in a Georgia courtroom, with that evidence, was not a situation that would end well for him. Derek signed on a Monday morning. Jonathan called me the moment the counterpart's signatures came through. "It is done, Henry. Filed. It is over." I was in my kitchen in East Cobb. Coffee brewing. October light through the window. The particular gold of a Georgia autumn that Eleanor always said was her favorite time of year. How is the Atlas situation? HR review concluded Friday. He resigned before they could finalize the termination. Same outcome, different paperwork. In Victoria, the fitness investigation has no defined timeline. But losing 11 families in 1 week, that will be in the record. Good. I took a sip of my coffee. Thank you, Jonathan. Henry, you built this case. That afternoon, Claire came over. She brought a bottle of wine, a habit I think she got from Eleanor's side of the family, the belief that most meaningful occasions deserve something good in a glass. And she brought a plant, small, in a terracotta pot. She set it on my kitchen windowsill next to the coffee maker. "What is that?" I asked. "For your kitchen. It needed something alive in it." She sat down. "Is it really over?" "Divorce is filed and signed. Restraining order is permanent. Derek is no longer a legal concern for you." I looked at her. "How are you doing?" She thought about it honestly, the way Claire always does. She has never been the person who gives you the answer she thinks you want. Tired. Sad. A little scared about what comes next. A pause. And relieved. Like I have been holding something heavy for a year and a half, and I finally put it down. She looked at the plant on the windowsill. "Mom would have liked that plant. Your mother would have bought you 10 of them and made me carry them all in from the car." Claire laughed. A real laugh, not careful, not cautious, just real. We sat in that kitchen for 2 hours. We talked about her job, which she loves, about Thanksgiving, which we were doing at her new place, just the 2 of us and our neighbor Paul, who cooks better than either of us, about Eleanor's throw blanket, which Claire wants to keep. At one point, she looked across the table at me with an expression that was half curious, half something harder to name. "Dad, yeah, that night, in the parking lot. You could have gone back inside. I could have. You did not." She held my gaze. Why? I thought about how to answer that. Not because I did not know. I had known it since I was 23 years old, when a training officer named Sergeant Edward Marsh told me something I have carried ever since. Because hitting Derek Holt in that steakhouse would have felt good for about 45 seconds, I said. And then I would have been arrested, and the whole story becomes about me. Not you. And Derek walks away clean. I set down my glass. A retired cop's battery charge versus irrefutable video evidence of assault. Which one helps my daughter more? She was quiet for a moment. The video. I picked up my phone instead of my fists because my phone could do more damage than my fists ever could. That was not patience. That was math. Claire was still for a moment. Then, quietly, Sergeant Instinct. She raised her glass. I raised mine. To doing the math, she said. To doing the math. Derek Holt, as of late October, was unemployed and living at Victoria's house in Smyrna. Victoria's daycare was operating with 7 children enrolled and a state fitness investigation ongoing. Jonathan's office sent me the final divorce decree on the 31st of October, with a short note attached that said simply, clean. I put the decree in a manila folder, filed it in my cabinet, between 2 other documents I have kept for years, Claire's birth certificate and her college diploma. Everything that matters goes in the same place. Then I went to the kitchen and watered the plant. For the record, it is doing well. Eleanor always said I had no gift for keeping things alive. Turns out I just needed something worth keeping. And for the first time in a long time, looking at that small green thing on the windowsill in the October light, with the coffee brewing and the divorce decree filed and my daughter's laugh still in the air, I believe that too. But here is the part one have not told anyone. Not Claire, not Frank, not even Jonathan. 3 nights after the divorce was finalized, my phone buzzed at 2 in the morning. Unknown number. I let go to voicemail. It was Derek, not begging, not threatening, just lost. His voice cracked somewhere between the first and second sentence. He said he understood now. He said he was getting help. He said he wanted to apologize to Claire. Not to fix things, just to say he was sorry. I listened to it once. Then I deleted it. Not because I did not believe him. Maybe he meant it. Maybe this was the moment that would finally change him. But Claire had spent 18 months learning that his apologies were just control wearing a different mask. And I had spent 22 years learning that some evidence is too dangerous to keep. I did not tell her about the call. I did not tell him I had heard it. I just went back to sleep. Because protecting your daughter is not always about what you do. Sometimes it is about what you choose not to say. Was I wrong to build a case against my daughter's husband instead of giving him a second chance? Or was the only second chance that mattered the one I gave Claire? Tell me in the comments.